We have Darrell Green in the house. How you doing, sir?
Good to be here, my friend.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
We were talking earlier, so you currently live in Virginia, but you're originally from Texas.
I'm originally from Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Spent my whole adult life in Texas. I mean, in Northern Virginia. Of course, playing, I apologize, let me throw that down there. I got drafted about 42 years ago. Go play for the Washington Redskins, now the Washington Commanders, and met my wife.
By the
there.
way, when the name change happened, what was your reaction?
I didn't have a reaction. I had a response. I was asked about how I felt about, at the time, the people who were Native American.
Sure.
Being offended by the name. And if you notice, I'm African American, then I was not going to fight that at all. So I was one of the first persons to say, hey, change the name. I mean, what's the deal? So later on, it seems like that may not have been the case, that community did not disagree with the name. And I don't know one way or the other. But to answer your question, my response was, hey, change the name.
If they want to change the name,
I didn't want to see the name change,
Yeah.
but it's a human. We just talked about that.
Sure.
It's human. I love people.
Sure.
And what's more important, that name or people if they're sincerely injured and hurt?
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm going to go people every time.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you played for what was formerly known as the Redskins. You were there for 20 years?
Yeah, yeah.
That's an anomaly today.
Well, it's three guys. I just found that out, matter of fact. It's three players that played for one team for 20 seasons. Of course, you have a bunch of field goal kickers and maybe punters that played a little bit longer than us. But for one team, it's only three of us. So that's pretty neat. I like that.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
When did you find that stat out? Was that recent, or had you
It
known that
actually
for a while?
was. It actually was.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. It was in the last couple. Matter of fact, I was at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and they was introducing us, and actually as they were introducing me, they had it on the paper. And I was like, what?
That's where you discovered
Yeah,
it.
and I'm Googling. I'm like, man, are they right? You know.
That's cool.
So yeah.
So you were actually nicknamed the Ageless Wonder. So how did that nickname come about? Talk to us about that one.
Well, just by playing,
Yeah.
keep on the Energizer, just keep playing. Well, I guess at the end of the day, the average career was under 3 years.
That's what I was going to say. 3 years, right?
And that makes sense, with the level of competition, the level of injury, and so forth and so on, and the ability to maintain your you when people are screaming your name and you become famous to people, and that's not always easy for these guys to maintain their you.
For you, was it tougher the mental aspect or the physical aspect? How would you rate those?
I don't consider any of it was tougher. I just think you just do what you do.
You just do it.
Yeah, you just do. And I think that's probably what it is. It's really not trying to make little of it, but it's the consistency of the wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And unfortunately, most people just can't manage that well because, like I said before, if I've seen guys come in the locker room, they just got drafted, man, they're scared to death. You can
Sure.
just see them, they're like a kid,
Yeah.
And then 5 touchdowns later, or 7 games later, name on TV, interviews, boom, boom. Next thing you know, you're walking in the locker room. Hey, John. Hey, who are you and where's John? He's different.
Different person.
He's not. And I respect that. That it's hard when people celebrating you when you really shouldn't be celebrated anyway at that level. But people celebrating you, telling you you're great every day. Let me get your autograph. You the man. You the man. You the man. And so the question is only asked because all of us are human, and we would think that, how do you do that? And I do it because of my love for Jesus Christ and my commitment to God and to my, I've been married 39 faithful years, and all my kids are married, all they got kids and grandkids. And so, it was just, to me, it was a simple wax on, wax off of life, both spiritually, physically, morally. I got to take care of my family. I got to go home, cut the yard. Oh, I got to go to practice. Oh, I have to go play a game. I have to come back, cut the yard, be with my family, go to dinner. So I think, it's, if you can manage that well, which is not easy to do because, like I said, human beings are just not made for that high level celebration. However, the paradox in all of it is that, being here with the Pump Brothers, using that very factor. I can go get paid to sign an autograph, and that's a unique paradox. That's why I call it a paradox, is how you've got to maintain your you. Dad, honey, and then Darrell Green. Like, okay, I'm Darrell Green, and I'm, hey, Dad, hey, honey, hey, John, so how do you, that's not always easy for people to maintain that particularly for a long time, but, with God's help, that's the way I've done it. But I'm very conscious and about that. When I see people, see different guys, and of course the divorce rate is high, and when you get and I understand that, but it's a unique paradox, to say the least. It's a very unique paradox that we live in, and related to that.
That's beautiful. Do you remember a day when something clicked where you had that simplicity type of mentality, the wax on, wax off, or has it always been in your DNA, would you say? Was there?
So, yeah, as a boy, I was always kind of a balanced kid. I'm just a happy kid. I was the happiest, greatest kid. Just a kid. I didn't even play football until 11th grade, really.
Really?
The
11th grade? Were you playing other sports before the 11th grade?
No, not what you call organized sports.
Yeah,
we played in the backyard,
sure.
Touch on the street, tackle on the grass, racing in the backyard, racing in PE at school. That was a different time. For my life. But no, I didn't get into football to be a pro. I didn't go to college to be a pro. I didn't get a scholarship to go to college. I never got a scholarship to go to college. I dropped out of college. I walked on twice. So, it's kind of interesting for me. My story is a little bit different, but my faith in God came through Jesus Christ in college. So I did kind of come into it with a level of sobriety, a level of awareness. I had my dream in my lifetime, period, from the age of 10, that I wanted to be a great husband and a great dad, because my parents got divorced when I was 10. So I kind of had a vision for what I wanted to be. The football thing came along. It just came along, and
that's crazy.
You
started playing it.
Trust me, I know it's crazy. Like, wow, man, my life has been so miraculous that's why I can't beat my chest over it. I can never beat my chest over what I know God did. I didn't do this. JV in 11th, 1 year varsity, walked on at NAIA college, university. Dropped out after one semester, no grades. My friend got killed in a car wreck. I rode home, was going to ride home with them. I don't even know who the guy that the car was. I never met that guy, but he met another kid from Houston. And so I never even knew who the guy was. But I was supposed to be in that car, and I was saying a lot of bad things until Monday. Man, y'all heard about that car wreck? I dropped out. I got on the bus and headed home. A year and a half later, I came back, new coach, tried out again. 3 years later, first round draft pick. Later on, 20 years later, first ballot Hall of Famer, greatest 100. My jersey getting retired. You can't make this stuff up. But if I don't have this perspective, I'm probably a mess. My wife and I won't be together 39 years. My son, my daughter, we wouldn't have any.
How many kids?
4.
Congrats.
4 kids.
How many grandkids?
16 and 17 are on the way.
Number 16 and 17 are currently on the way. That's
way.
awesome.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful family. And then, what part of Houston did you grow up? The
I
reason I ask is my mom grew up in the Lake Jackson, Brazoria, Houston area.
Lake Jackson, Brazoria is, we don't call it Houston
it's
area.
Outskirts. It's outskirts.
But I grew up in what's called a place called Sunnyside.
Sunnyside. I
was born there. Parents got divorced. We went to 3rd Ward. From there, we went to South Park, and so then I graduated high school in that area, Jones High School. And then when I got drafted, I got my mom a house in Missouri City, and most of my family live in Missouri City region. kind of now. Have I played? I don't live there, but have they live there in that area? So kind of moved around, and my folks were from area called Fifth Ward. So I know I used to be when I dropped out, I drove a furniture truck. So I know the city. That's why when you said it, I know the city.
Yeah.
I was out
That's
there.
not Houston.
Clear Lake City. I was all over the place. Yeah.
That's cool.
Interesting life.
Tell me your favorite memories of the NFL. Like if you were to pick a couple memories, like
Yeah, it'd have to be just some memories, not because there's no your favorite memory. It's no favorite memory.
Sure.
The favorite memory is the day you walked in there, like wow, they won the Super Bowl the year before I got drafted. This is a Super Bowl championship team. That's why they picked me last in the first round, because the Super Bowl team picks last. So it probably was a throwaway draft. Let's just we won the Super Bowl. Let's just get this guy. But yeah, going into a team like that, I hear Coach Joe Gibbs. They were very, very highly respected and successful.
And what year is this?
1983.
83.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's crazy? One of my closest friends and my wife's dearest friends are the Dorsetts. Tony Dorsett, and from the Dallas Cowboys. And you're kind of young, but I my first play of notoriety was the Monday night, my first ever game, the Monday night game against the rival Cowboys, of whom the Redskins had beat in the championship game to go to the Super Bowl previously a few months out. So I chased down Dorsett, who was incredible, fast, Hall of Fame, heading to the Hall of Fame, and it made me famous. And it's funny, Tony and I, we travel around, we do youth work all around the country dealing with, kids, suicide, mental health, vaping, fentanyl, all this stuff. And we sit there and they'll ask the question like, well, he chased you down and all this stuff. And we talk about how the reason why I became recognized is because I was standing on the shoulders of a great guy. If I would have chased you down, nobody would have said a word. And so I can't belittle my friend, even though he wasn't my friend at the time.
Sure.
I can't belittle this great athlete, this great man, because I did something to him, and because it gave me recognition and notoriety because how great he was. So I can't dog that because I'm not great if he wasn't great.
Yeah.
He doesn't help me get there. So. That was one of the big memories that people talk about. In reality, I don't talk about it. But I had a lot of highlight plays, of course, playing 20 years. You can't play 20 years without some highlights. You probably won't be there long. But just the fact to have the opportunity to come there and play, met my wife there. So I'm very grateful to the NFL, but it was a lot of great plays. I mean, it was a lot of, but the bigger part for me was I was fortunately, I was asked in my second year to match up on the best player, the best receiver every game. So I go down in history for a number of things, but one of those is that I was the guy that matched up. I matched up with the best player, best receiver, and I got my butt whooped a few times, or more than a few, and I whooped a few, but I won a few. So I think that the fun for me was just really that the competition, the ability to prepare to try to compete against these incredible athletes and their quarterbacks and their offensive scheme and all the rest of it. That was the joy for me, I think. I didn't win all of it, but it was a privilege. I would have loved to try to cover Michael Jordan. Probably would have won. He would have beat me every time, but I might have blocked the shot once. This might be the one. And to me, that's what a joy is. Just to have the chance to see if you can do it. Doesn't mean you can do it or you can't do it, or you can do it. And then if you do it, it's exciting and you keep that balanced. So I kind of have lived that way my whole adult life and kind of was that way as a kid. I'm not some all-world dude. I'm just a dude, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that.
That's super cool. I love that. So 20 years it's a lifetime in the NFL. We're at year 10, year 12, were you thinking, okay, my days are numbered, or how did that? Because that's so long.
Never thought about it.
And
it was wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
Wax on,
keep
wax
going
off.
back to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's, there's a quote that I love by Da Vinci that says simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. And I think as human beings, we often like overcomplicating our lives and making lives more difficult than they should be. But you keep going back to the simplicity philosophy, and that's why you had so much tenure in the league, because you sounds like you didn't have the high highs or the low lows. You were just
Oh my
pretty
God!
even keel.
I tell you what, I've never heard that. I got to get that quote, but that you're making I'm getting something from what you're saying, because you're exactly right. It was simple. It was a simple. I was the same guy tomorrow, yesterday, the next week. I'm the same guy.
Because it's tough
go to
for
work.
everything that you did not to let your ego take over and think that you're God's gift to mankind, you know?
Yeah, and the way you do that is you recognize that God has given you Himself as a gift.
Yeah.
And so there's a righteousness, consciousness that I think you have to maintain, because you're right. They're always pouring it at you. You're the man. You're great. You're incredible. You're this. And man, you keep on drinking that water if you want to, and it'll destroy you. I never drink that water, so I still don't, by the grace of God. So I probably would be boring. Even this story might be boring to people. Like, man, no, I didn't hoe around. I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't act the fool. I wasn't running the streets. I wasn't at the clubs. No, I wasn't. I just went home.
So
I just go home, man. Come to my yard, hang out with my kids. Come back to work.
I like that. So you mentioned that you're helping with the youth, and you mentioned vaping. Vaping, by the way, drives me bonkers, because it felt like, at least here in the U.S., we were pretty much done with cigarettes. Like, you don't see smokers as much as we used to.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this new invention comes around, these e-cigarettes and these vapes and everything. So I want to hit on that a little bit. What kind of work do you do currently to help the youth, like, not get into that world, or if they're in that world, to get out of that world? Because I think that's super key, especially with how much influence you have. And, you know, you have a massive voice.
Yeah, I partner with a large company called Centene Corporation, and we actually reach students all around the United States. That's what I do in a regular day. I also have a company called Legends Encore Partners, and we partner with other Pro Football Hall of Famers too, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And you're exactly right. We're using our influence. I call my Hall of Fame jacket a key. Hey, this is how I got in here. And I say when I'm out there in front of 1,500 kids, I say, here's my key, how I got in. And I say, what do you do with your keys when you walk in the house? And I throw it down. I actually throw it on the floor. You know, you put your keys on the top, on the cabinet, you know. And I normally throw it down. But yeah, I recognize that I have influence, I have access, I have resources, and my goal as I get before these students all over the country, whether it's through what we do call Strong Youth, Strong Communities, or through my Legends Encore Partners and my vape-free assemblies. I'm just going in there and telling stories, and I'm talking about some aspects. Of course, I start by saying, hey, look, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a, whatever.
Sure.
But I give these kids more common sense conversation around the decision that they make, and let them know, of course, there's nicotine you think is not, is in this.
Yeah.
It is.
Even more so, right? From
100%.
what I've heard.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you try to give them, you try to meet them at a human level. And, people say, well, man, you're 60-some years old. Trust me, these kids don't see me as an age. They hear me because I'm speaking to their person. And it's very successful. We're very successful. And I put out applications for all over the country for school districts to bring us in to try to make the difference, because now vaping is a killer. Vaping has, you're dealing with kids with all types of issues, reason why they vape. But fentanyl is the worst. We got to get out there. We've got to get out there more and more to save our kids from all this foolishness. And even as we talked in the beginning, the kind of question is why? Why is there need? My dad was an alcoholic. My dad told us, look, son, my father, who I didn't know, my stepfather, and what he said in The White Man. Now, my dad's born in 1933. And my dad was a Maxwell House Coffee lab technician for 30 years, never missed a day. My dad got up in the morning and he hit it. And at lunchtime, he went out to his car and he made it and he hit it. And then when he came home, it was pretty much caution to the wind. But that's how man, me and my brothers got with my dad. And one day we were grown men, 5 boys. We've been, Dad, you got to stop this, man. My dad, by the time he finished telling his story and cussed us out and he held that cup up, he said, Mother Blankers, this is coping all. So I was very sensitive and respectful to my dad. I hated that he did that. I thought that there was another way. But I respect that I did not understand his plight. I was not him. That's what he was saying. You wasn't there. Were you there? No, I wasn't, Dad. I wasn't there when your stepfather. I wasn't there when your when everything that you faced in 33, 43, 53, 63. I came in 60, 7 of us. So I wasn't there. And this is the way that I can function. We walked our butts away. But because of that, that may have driven me. I'm not a guy. Yeah, I drink a glass of red wine at dinner with my wife, but I've never drank and smoked and all this stuff. But maybe that's what drives me to get ahead of my dad. A kid being like my dad. Get ahead of that. Because somebody could have got ahead of that at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16. Let's try to get ahead of that. Because, help you. And my dad was an intellectual. He's an intellectual. He was smart. But he missed that piece. And so, yeah, I'm driven by that to try to get ahead of that, to tell the stories, both tell stories that'll give them insight and then tell stories related to, not stories, but bring information, real practical information about their health. And, it does bother me that my dad was such an intellectual guy, a smart guy, that maybe he couldn't. Maybe you can. It's not that easy.
Sure.
Maybe it's not just.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that. I heard this a while back, but it essentially says leaders can save more lives than surgeons. And you mentioned earlier, you're not a psychologist, you're not a therapist, but you having done what you have and being the leader that you are, the kids will listen to you more than the doctor. So again, you can save more lives than surgeons can, because by the time you go into the hospital, it could be too late. The surgeon can just operate on what already happened, but you can prevent it through your leadership.
Man, I it's funny. I'm still fresh. I'm still alive. I'm still moving forward.
And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
64.
Congrats.
Well, thank you. I just landed in L.A. Earlier, LAX, and a guy saw me, 2 guys, and they were actually Redskin fans, Commander fans too. And this one guy, he came to me, he said, hey, he said, have you ever wrote a book on parenting? Like, no, I haven't. But he knows that I've been 42 years in D.C., been married 39. He's seen me. He lived there. He's seen everything I've done on and off the field. They know, because we're public. They know my 4 kids. They know all the grandkids. It's social media. Everybody knows that.
Sure.
And he was saying, he said, yeah, I'm a young husband and dad. And he said, man, I would read that book. I was like, I walked away. I got in the car. Actually, my son was in the car waiting on me in the black car. And I said, man, that guy just asked me that. I was like, man, this guy knows. That to me, it makes me happy, but it also puts a weight.
You got the weight, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the way I used to tell my kids, when they walked out the door, they would go to the parties or wherever they would go, but it would be like they're walking with a sofa on their neck. Like, hey, man, what's that sofa on your back? Oh, what sofa? Oh, that's the weight of my dad and my family and the responsibility that I have. And my kids always, I'm Christian, so a lot of my Christian friends didn't let their kids go out. So they want to practice. I tell them all the time, they want to practice Christian free throws and jump shots and passes. And then on Friday night when the game's on, no, you can't go. Well, I let my kids go. We practice all week. Let me see if you can go out there. When that girl come up on you, let me see the move you're going to put on her and get out of that. Let me see if you can do it for real. Because when you go to college, I ain't going to be there. So unfortunately, a lot of people out there that think they're trying, I'm taking care of my kids. And, yeah, let him go, though. If you're going to practice, let's see if he can play. Let's see if he can really hold on to the moral character that you are trying to produce in him. Let's see him get in the game. Put me in, coach, and then talk to him. Say, hey, what happened, son? Well, Dad, maybe he blew it, whatever. I don't know, but probably not, probably won't. But you got to let him play.
Wow.
If you have kids and you want to teach them all this good stuff, get his butt out there. Hey, you going to the party tonight, man? Yeah, well, can I go there? Yeah, who you going with? Who you going with? Where's it going to be? What time you going to come back? They be like, in high school, they coming back, it's going to be 2 a.m. I'm like, hey, represent, I'll see you in the morning. My wife stay up. But I say represent. But what am I saying represent?
I love that.
You're representing everything that we've talked about, you've heard, you've seen.
It's not easy, though.
Oh, no, I ain't. Don't get it twisted now.
Oh,
don't get it
difficult.
twisted. And I guarantee you they didn't make no 100. There are no hundreds.
Yeah.
But I think that my son's my best friend. You know,
I saw him, right?
He's 35.
35,
He's
yeah.
35. He got 4 girls.
Imagine if you would have done this the entire upbringing. He ain't your friend.
Oh, no. Oh,
There's no way you guys
man.
are hanging out today.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. I was talking to him. We were just talking about that earlier today, too, about how dude, we here together. Most guys ain't here together with their son, their 35-year-old son who's married. No, they don't have that. But you don't get it at 35. You got it over 35 years. And you were conscious about it. You wasn't just, you don't mail it in.
You know, for me, I've got 5 kids. I'm 48. I have to think through it.
2 of my daughters have 5 kids.
Really?
My one's they're about to have their 5th, and my other daughter, they have 5.
But one thing that's been difficult for me, especially in the teenage years, is I've often made it about me, right? Because it's like, how dare you do this? What are people going to think about me?
That's great.
And man, it's great. Tough to let go and just, I have to understand it's not about me.
No.
They're their own person. But it's so tough to do.
I would say to that, I started with, as soon as they can understand English. Start telling them the story, my dad, and just giving them history. And like, for example, my son turned 10. I said, hey, man, boy, happy birthday, man. My parents got divorced when I was 10. I said, listen. I looked him dead in his face. I said, I'm going to die faithfully with your mama. To me, and I may be crazy, but I think that it wasn't Darrell Green, my dad's Darrell Green. I think it was what I spoke into his heart, into his soul, that my dad, I can count on my dad, and know what? I want to be on this team. And over time, we talked more about it. He said, Dad, count me in. I'm not going to sleep with a girl till I get married. I didn't tell him, he came to that revelation because he knew about my past and my family's past, and then now here we are who we are.
Yeah, that's where it's powerful, because it's his. It's not yours, it's his.
Yeah, it's yours. It's
and
yours,
you're helping
dude.
your kids.
How you going to do this?
Yeah.
So you got the baton, what you going to do? I told you about Daddy, told you about his daddy, told you about me. Are you going to take us to the next level? And you have to take ownership in it. But you're exactly right. If you're just talking about you, then he's making a decision for you. I wanted my boy, make this decision. Are you in? Because it wasn't at 10. It was at 12 or 14 when he said, Dad, count me in. Count me in.
Love it. You ready for another quote?
I do.
The scariest hood you ever go through? You know what hood it is? Parenthood.
Well, I would say this. I won't call it the scariest hood, even though I might quote you anyway one day. I think it's the most. To me, it's.
And the reason I say that, there's not one answer. And every kid, it's so different.
But I think I think how you approach. So in other words, if you go through a hood, like we used to go walk through Blue Ridge, the other area, and you got to be ready to run. When you're going through the hood over there. I'm talking about the idea of it's your hood and it's a good hood, and you're creating the hood. You're not just reacting where that the bullies are over there. You do have some controls in that. This is your boy. He's in your house. He eating your food. He sleep when you sleep. Say sleep. You do have control. You've got some controls on there. Now you're gonna have to be awake, because the scariest thing you write is when he walk out of your door.
Yeah.
Now, because Johnny's mom may not be telling, and mom and dad may not be telling him, and I believe what you believe, that I believe that you. Matter of fact, they used to whoop us in school, but there was no written signature on a paper saying, I give you the right to whoop Darryl's behind. She whooped my behind, you know why? Because I believe that your mama believes that I believe that you believe that I believe that you believe that his behind ought to be able to respect people.
Sure.
So she whooped him, and guess what else she did? She called and told, hey, I had to get Darryl today.
Yeah.
And my mom didn't go screaming and cussing at her. She was embarrassed and apologized. And then when I came home,
you got another one.
Yeah, so there's this part of our generation that we had where, there was a unity in that world. But it ain't now.
Yeah.
Now,
well, the scary part too is, back then you close the doors of your home and you're insulated, you're protected. Nowadays, that social media, that internet, that phone stuff, it's coming in 24/7.
Oh man, you telling your son A, his friend telling him B and C, then social media telling him D, E, and F.
Oh, yeah.
Now, so yeah, if you're gonna be a good parent,
and that's why I say
you're gonna work.
It's a pretty scary hood.
Yeah,
because you just don't know.
Congratulations! I think just looking at you and listening to you, I think you got to be doing a good job.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Hall of Fame. Congrats. 2008.
2008. Yeah.
How does that work? How do you get inducted? How do you get the notice? Like, how does that whole process work?
Well, everything is always so much better over time. At the time, and I guess it's still this way, at the time I went to the Super Bowl in Arizona, which is where they tell who's going to make it in. So I wanted to be there, but we flew everybody in. We want to be there so we can, when they say it, we're there, So, and if they don't say it, we just slide out the back door, fly out of town, head on out. Yeah. So, because there's only one chance to be first. So that's why I went. So, the word, well, actually, yeah, I was in the pool of the finalists. So, yeah.
Okay.
But I never played for the Hall of Fame. I never thought about it, never talked about it.
Which is why you're Hall of Famer.
Yeah. That's exactly what I've said. Yeah, I wasn't thinking. Now, some guys did. They said since they were 5, they wanted to be a Hall of Famer. Sure. That's them, but not me. But yeah, it was a special time, because. And the fun part was my son and I. He was my presenter. We went into this room, which we still do. Well, he can't go in there now, but it's a room where it's only Hall of Famers. Mm. But you're seeing that guy that you saw as a child. Oh my gosh, that's Roger Staubach. That's Mean Joe Green. That's all these different guys. That's pretty crazy, man. Maybe some of them walking there now and see me. Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. But
there you go. No.
Yeah. So no, that was cool.
Okay. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Cool, man.
To have this conversation with you. I've learned so much, and continue being that light to the world. Ooh. Like as soon as you entered the room, it was like it was beaming. So
no, I'm ready to do it, man. And I ain't tired. I'm not tired. I'm ready to go.
Just
keep going. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited. So you got how many kids? 5?
5 kids. Yeah, 5. Oldest is 24. Youngest is 12.
Wow.
Yeah, I have 3 boys and 2 girls.
Well, man.
My wife's from Argentina.
I don't know what else you do, but that's your number one thing. Yeah. That's what I did. I mean.
Well, the thing is, I'm a business owner, and I tell people all the time, running a business is easy. Being in the C-suite is easy. Being on a board is easy. is just when you're dealing with the kids, because
Yeah.
you can't, like you were saying, you can't just tell your kids, do this and they comply. You know, in the workplace, if they don't comply, what do? You either, demote them or fire them or whatever. I can't fire my kids.
What's your youngest?
So my youngest is 12. He's a boy.
So one of the things I done, it may be late, but so when I was playing, sometime I may come in at 11 o'clock at night. I was over here doing this autograph session or some event, fundraiser, whatever. But, my kids, I'm talking about as little bitty kids. 1 o'clock, I don't care what time it was. I jumped in bed with them and I would take 4 minutes, maybe 5. And she have already told me something that I need to talk to them about. I take 3 minutes of just goofiness, laughing, and then in the last minute and a half, hey, by the way, your mama said you need to do this, da. Okay, Dad, thanks, boom, bye. Because even if I'm gone, I'm going to get that 3 to 5 minutes in that bed, and I don't care if it's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to go back to sleep happy. Dad, and I go on there laughing and acting crazy, but then boom, hey, by the way, your mom told me, said this, and it's not always that. But even if I'm gone, I'm still going to connect. And then when I had the opportunities, every chance I got, I'll drive them to school. I'm talking about little kids. I drive them to school. You got to be creative because it's on. And you got to have all the conversations, talk about everything. Just tell the truth. Tell your family story, good and the bad.
Sure. Don't
just tell them the good. Tell them everything. Man, my dad and my grandfather was this, that. My grandfather did this, that. But she could see that we ain't this anymore. But you still wanted to say, hey, we ain't about like that. I don't mean we hate Grandpa, but we don't roll like that no more. I think you're more fair and honest you can be with your kids, the better you give them a chance to be confident. They don't have to feel like, well, I can't let nobody know this, that. No. We're transparent, not for the sake of just foolishness, but we're transparent so that we can be better, both for us and for somebody else. I used to, when I was playing, I was 43 basically when I retired. I walk in the locker room, these guys are 20, 21. They laughing at my shirt, my pants. That's on Monday. I wear those same clothes for the next 5 days. I'm just teaching them something that, guys, and so my daughter, same thing happened. She wore something to school and they laughed. And she knew this story. She said, what do you think? I said, no, what do you think? And she wore it the whole week. You're always teaching. You always have to be in it with them. And we bought our house for that reason. We bought a house with a big kitchen, with a big old island. Bring all your friends in here. We got it. We bought a kitchen island. We had a theater room and a swimming pool and a basketball court. I want all the kids here. That was enough. You got to be strategic.
Yeah, I love that.
You got to be strategic.
Yeah,
be strategic, cool. Man. But don't sit back. Yeah. Get in it. Well, they in there talking. Now they in there talking. You listen. So what'd you say, Jared? Man, I ain't say, man. That's not even right. You know too much to not interject in that conversation and leave your friends hanging like that. I don't mean you all that. I said, you need to go back and start that conversation up tomorrow. You got some information you could have delivered to them. And that my son is what I trained him to be. He's big time, man. He communicates. He presented me at the Hall of Fame. He just does.
He's the one that's here with you?
Yeah.
He's your oldest?
Yeah.
Cool.
No, he's my only boy.
He's your only boy. The others are girls.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, let me get out of here, dude.
All right, brother.
Hey, man, what's your show?
Live Life by Design.